the Consumer Electronics Association, owner and producer of the International CES. Lucky to be talking this morning with twice as Steve Smith, one of the best journalists in the technology world. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to speak this morning about the show and about the industry. Just have a few questions, quick questions as we lead up to CES. First is, the show looks like, for all intents and purposes, should be a record. In the past, CEA has been concerned about crowds. I guess it's better to be concerned about having a lot of people and not having enough people at the show. How does CEA try to balance the popularity of the show with the with the fact that you have a lot of people there and you want to give a good experience? Does that remain a major concern for CES? CEA?
That's a great question, Steve, and you're absolutely right. This is a record-setting show by so many measures. It's certainly in terms of our footprint, we're close to 1.9 million net square feet of exhibit space, which is definitely a record. We just have no space left. I mean, we're putting nooks and crannies and putting some people outside, but we are space constrained for this year just by what is available in Las Vegas and for 2013. And actually, we face the same issue for 2014. We won't be much bigger than we are this upcoming show. In terms of the number of people coming, we don't really know how many people will come till the show is over, and then we do our final audit, as you know. We're projecting over 150,000 people, and that is only open to the trade. And over 30,000 of those people will be abroad. 5,000 will be journalists. We'll probably be in the ballpark of 145 to 160. I think we're comfortable for that. We're even more comfortable this year because it is a weekday show. On weekends, Las Vegas gets a crowd no matter what, so we don't want to compete with that weekend crowd. We do control attendance, especially the Nevada registrants and the Southern California registrants. We give them extra scrutiny to make sure they're affiliated with the industry, and we are turning people away. In terms of moving that crowd around Las Vegas, as you know, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on buses, on logistics, on signage, on directions. We even have a special, on our website, you could download a program, an app, which gets you around the show, lets you hook up appointments in a way that makes sense. We encourage people to share cabs and be smart about how they get around and plan their visit accordingly. We know there's a capacity limitation on Las Vegas, but Las Vegas, as you do know, has more hotel rooms than any city in the world, and it's still growing. So we think Las Vegas is ready for us, and we're ready for Las Vegas, and we'll be in that 145 to 160 probably amount. Last year at this time we were saying over 140, and we hit 156. So we're projecting a great show, but it's not only the people that make the show and the numbers and the square footage of exhibits. This is going to be one exciting show. It's not going to be the biggest ever. It's going to be the most innovative, the most exciting, and I think it's going to be a great upbeat show and a great way to start the year.
Well, it always seems to me that it's a jump start. I mean, you would think that a lot of other industries would have something like this, but I think the consumer electronics industry is lucky to have a show like this to jumpstart the year. Because a lot of other industries, people come back from the holidays and it takes them a few days to get going, but you have to be on your game if you're going to CES. You mentioned the whole issue of numbers and auditing and all that stuff, and I did get a copy of your new book, that a Ninja Innovation, that will be debuting at the show, I believe. And before I ask you some other questions, I did have a chance to read a couple of chapters, and one of the chapters I focused in on was when the old days about trying to guess how many people at the show, and the way you've done it now for the past 20 years, I guess, if not longer, where you actually you have an audit, which you didn't have before. And the first year when you went from not having a, I would say, a looser way of coming up with numbers versus the audited show you have now, people were saying, well, no one was going to CES, the population went down, but you knew that the attendance was just about the same as it was before. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's kind of an interesting story how you evolved to be as transparent as possible when it comes to reporting attendance.
Well, you're absolutely right. The attendance of the show is something that people focus on. It's one of the ways people measure themselves in the trade show world, how many people show up. And certainly, you're right about the timing of the show. We're very lucky that it starts off the year. I am totally convinced that after Thanksgiving and the Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year's, people are with their families. They're ready to go to Las Vegas. We're well timed. We're also well timed because those exhibits are pretty spectacular, and we're lucky to have the end. We have a lot of people there, and the exhibits are starting. The hanging signs are being put up as we speak now. It takes a while, and no other show has that luxury of doing that. But you're right, and I have a whole chapter in the book about CES and our strategy and how we got it to be the most innovative event in the world, the centerpiece for innovation, and we built it up. But one of the strategies is honesty. And every show was doing the same thing. Basically, you estimate your attendance. You really don't know how many people are showing up unless you're very, very careful and meticulous in verifying people when they come that they're there. So we decided to be one of the first shows in the U.S., if not the world, to audit our attendance and to come up with a precise number. And that means you have to physically show up and get your badge, and then we count you, or you register on site and we count you. Even then, there's some people who get by. They use badges from prior years, things like that. And we have a way of collecting those people. But the bottom line is we hire an outside auditor, an independent auditor, just the way we do for our finances. And we follow some standards that are set in the trade show world, which have been set. And we came up with a way of measuring ourselves. And that first year was agonizing. We lost 50,000 people. It was dramatic. And everyone said, oh, my God, the show's going downhill. No one showed up. But we knew we didn't really have a change. We just measured differently. Ironically, still most shows in the U.S. and even our competitors do not audit as a matter of principle. They just have to go that way because it's like Twice Magazine. You have an audited circulation. We have an audited show. It's very important.
When you were doing that, that's exactly what I was thinking. That any publication has to be audited, and I think for the sake of your exhibitors, you have to do that. Now, I want to go back to one other question about the book, and that is, it's your second book, and in a couple of chapters that I read, I love the stories of the industry. What is the story behind Ninja Innovation, and why did you decide to get back in the business of writing books again?
Well,
what was the idea behind it?
Thanks, Steve. This is CEA's second book. The first book was focused on innovation as a matter of national policy, and it's still absolutely important. We're facing a physical cliff today, and everyone's talking about how high taxes will go, how we can cut spending, and both of those are very important. But the third area, of course, is growth, economic growth, and growth comes from innovation. So innovation is what CEA is totally focused on. Innovation is what defines the International CES. Innovation is our innovation movement, focusing on the national policies in the first book, spectrum, trade, getting the best and the brightest, getting our arm around corporate and tax and other policies which make sense for innovation and making the U.S. strong in innovation. Third thing we have is a magazine. It is innovation. It used to be called Vision. It's being launched at the show. And the fourth is this book, now Ninja Innovation. While the first book focused on national policies, this book talks about people, companies, governments, what they can do to be innovative. And it ties it in with essentially martial arts. I have a black belt in karate, and we talk about some of the things as a ninja that are important. One of them we just talked about, being honest, being ethical. That is a very important principle at CEA, being fair, but also being focusing on thinking out of the box. Every CEA employee and my kids hear the same thing from me. If you face a problem, don't say you have a problem. Come up with a solution if you hit a brick wall. Knock it down. Go around it. Do something. Be a ninja, as I tell my kids. That's very important. So the concept of ninja innovation is if you're at a company, if you're in a consumer electronics business, you better be a ninja or your company will not survive. And having worked with you for 30 years, we've seen a lot of companies not survive. And it's because they didn't adapt, and ninjas adapt. And this book is about innovation and about adapting and succeeding in a very, very tough industry.
I think that this show coming up, to your point, you're going to see a lot of companies, a lot of brands that all of us know, that you and I have worked with, are going to be evolving and doing a lot of different things. I want to ask you about, I think CES and CEA has really opened the tent dramatically over the years with different industries coming in. I mean, you look back on it now, it's amazing. You have car companies You have content providers of all stripes. You have more broadcasters and cable execs at this show than I think at their shows. You also have the health and fitness people, and a lot more. What other industries? I'm asking you to do a crystal ball thing, but what other industries or what other types of technologies do you think CEA will or CES will be hosting in the next 2 or 3 years? You really can't go beyond 2 or 3 years when it comes to this industry, if that. But what other types of technology industries or other industries do you expect to see at CES in, let's say, a couple of years?
You know, that's a great question. You're right. That is the essence of our strategy. You know, consumer electronics, we define as very broad. We actually have shifted the name to International CES because we want people to understand that the CES name means innovation, and it means everything touching technology. So we've captured 7 of the 10 largest car companies. We have the Hollywood community. We have every home studio video head. We have the car companies coming. We have Madison Avenue. Adweek this week has a headline story about CES and how the head of Yahoo is coming there. And if you look at our keynoters, they're all over wireless. Our health exhibits are up 25%. The iLounge, everything related to Apple, is up to 440 companies. It didn't exist a few years ago, and now it's bigger than almost every trade show in the country standing alone. We have so many themed tech zones and partnerships with Hollywood, with the government procurement area. But looking forward, let me tell you what we're going to have in a few years, because we do talk about this and we do brainstorm, and certainly everything I'm about to say is not going to happen, but some will, and that's the important thing. So we're going to have the business-to-business crowd. You know, when Comdex went away, there's really still no home for those selling to companies. Increasingly, they're coming. The CIOs and the CTOs are coming to CES, and we're going to capture that. There's the smart cities, which are important. Cities are increasingly evolving to be smart in what they do. Transportation, we're going to a driverless car. That has huge impacts in what we're doing, and that's going to be playing out in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Now we have an electric car and a smart car and a area of the show, but as we go to from collision avoidance to driverless cars, huge ramifications a lot there. There's nanotechnology, there's materials handling, there's all these different sensing devices being loaded into products. There's robotics. There's a lot of things going on which are coming in the future, which are going to be there. The biomedical area certainly is important. Even the government procurement area is in a sense growing. As government's cutting down, they have to be smarter. And definitely, of course, healthcare is the biggest cost that's really causing the physical cliff, and we want to be at the forefront of helping to address that. So we have plenty of fertile areas for the consumer electronics industry to be the centerpiece of. And the best example of that, though, I'll go back to the car. It used to be automobile companies sold you a car on the basis of 0 to 60 horsepower, all the big macho testosterone things. Now they're selling the car on the basis of the consumer electronics technology in it, and probably on gas mileage as well, which is somewhat related.
Exactly.
So, and we have, by the way, we do have an electric car portion of the show and a green portion of the show. We'll have more of that in the future. So bottom line is that we are flexible. We're ninjas. And the CES, we want to be the center for innovation for the world, not only in the traditional consumer electronics industry, but in every industry that we touch. And that is our future, and that's where we're heading. And we hope you'll be there with us.
Just one last comment, and that's by me. You know, I said a few years ago that the show would eventually be called the Consumer Technology Show, but don't tell Susan Littleton I just said that. But I always thought that because you were expanding, but now with the branding of International CES, you know, you really have redefined what consumer electronics can be or is today. The only other point that I would say is that the technology that we're using now to speak and really have a video phone call, I saw at CES 15 or 18 years ago, and I think it was being demonstrated by AT&T.
I was at that press conference.
And who would think that the both of us today would be speaking on the not the Forerunner, but at the same technology with via Google. Gary, I think I'm going to get going. Thanks for your time. Have a great holiday season, and I'll see you in Las Vegas. And thanks for the opportunity to talk to you today.
Thanks for taking the time, Steve. Have a healthy trip to Vegas, and stay healthy rather. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.